What is up, guys? Python here. And it finally happened. The Jack Eichel trade, of course. It happened while I was sleeping. The one freaking morning I don't wake up early, but I'm on NHL because I'm going to put Jack Eichel on the roster. So, yeah, we got to update this. So, Jack Eichel has been traded to the Vegas Golden Knights of all teams because it was rumored that it was down to them. The Flames, we had that report from Kevin Weeks yesterday that it was apparently going to be a package like Kachuk, former first round pick, 2 first-round picks, and some other player involved. But that did not end up happening. As the next day now, Jack Eichel is going to Vegas, which is absolutely insane. He is getting traded for Alex Tuch, Peyton Krebs, if I could find him. He is on the NHL roster. And then in EA, they still have not made it that you could transfer over picks in the game when you do need to make moves, because they wait till decades later to implement trades or fully, get the trades into the game. So, yeah. So we got to do it that way. But the picks were a top 10 protected 2022 first round pick. Vegas scared they're missing the playoffs, I guess. My God. And then a 2023 second round pick. And obviously, I'm reacting to this because I'm a Ranger fan. And to me, this is really a head scratcher in multiple ways because of the fact that Jack Eichel, it's just the fact that this is what we waited for. Because originally you saw all these crazy trades and everything. And I feel like if this was the trade offer and this was a final package, which obviously it was, I don't understand why more teams did not jump on this opportunity. There are so many teams that could have gave a similar package, if not better, for Jack Eichel, in my opinion. In my opinion, as a Ranger fan, of course, I'm going to say that we could have put a better package together. It would have been a lot more younger guys with more upside than a guy like Alex Tuch, who is, yes, he's more proven in terms of how he is as a player. I believe he had a 50-point season at one point in his career. So, yes, he did. So, Alex Tuch is more proven. But ever since then, I mean, he has not been, that guy. I guess he still could be a 50-point player. And then Peyton Krebs has struggled so far in the NHL. To me, though, I feel like a lot of teams could have easily have put a similar package together. So I'm going to say Buffalo lost this trade as of right now. However, that could change because Jack Eichel's getting a surgery that no other player has had. So how is he going to be after? Is it going to change anything? Or is he just going to be the Jack Eichel that we've seen, for the past half decade that he's been in the NHL? Is it going to be that, or is it going to be a different Jack Eichel and he's not going to perform up to what he has been in the past? Because obviously, as best, he is, one of the best centers in the NHL. It's clear as day, and he's only 24, so he's only going to get better once he hits his prime. He easily has an 100-point season in him. The question is, can he do it? And the fact that the Sabres got nothing in return, which I called, by the way, I called that they were not going to get a significant amount in return for a guy that was, it's unproven the surgery that he's getting, which is why I'm saying we can't automatically just give the W right now to the Vegas Golden Knights, because it is unproven what's going to happen. But for them to give up what they did, I don't see a lot of risk with it personally. Yeah, it is $10.5 million on your cap that could be going to waste, but it's a risk that I would have been willing to take with the Rangers if they really did not have to give up much. I mean, there are so many teams that could have jumped on this easily. If that Calgary rumor was true, I do not understand how Buffalo did not accept that offer. I mean, if you give Kachuk, and then let's say that former first-round pick they were talking about was, it could have been a lot of different players. I mean, even if it was Zadorov, that would have been a really good return. They could have got so much more from Calgary. Just to get Kachuk alone would have made the trade so much more worth it for the Buffalo Sabres. Let's say it was Kachuk, Zadorov, and then the same first and second. I'm taking Calgary's offer all day. But the rumor was Calgary offered multiple firsts. They offered former first round picks. They offered 2 lower end prospect, or they didn't specify lower end. They just said 2 prospects and Kachuk. I don't understand how that didn't end up being the trade, assuming that was true. If it was, Buffalo dumb fumbled the bag. Fuckled the bag. Makes sense. Dumb fumbled the bag. But I mean, LA easily could have done this too. LA easily could have made this trade happen. There are so many. I can't think of a package off the top of my head. It would have been a similar thing with the Rangers, where it would have been prospects and it would have been, you know, guys with higher upside. But for Buffalo to not even take prospects in the return, I don't know if they're getting a little cocky because they're off to this hot start and they think that if they get these NHL ready guys, which only one of them really has proven to do a lot in the NHL. Sure, you could say Krebs is a prospect still, but it's not like he's playing in the NHL. It's not a guy that you're waiting on to come over to the NHL. When I say prospect, I mean it in that way. He's going to be a graduated prospect after the season, because now that he's in Buffalo, no doubt he's going to be playing top 6 minutes for them. And then Puck is obviously going to also. So I'm just surprised that they didn't go for more of the younger guys with higher upside that they could have ended up getting from a team like LA. They obviously weren't going to give up Byfield, which I said mentioned it multiple times, that teams were not going to give up top end prospects. But Rasmus Kapari could have been on the table. They could have got what's his name, Velarde. They could have got some other solid pieces. I don't even know LA's oh, there it is, Ontario Reign. I mean, there were just a couple of guys that they could have got from LA. And then, of course, as a Ranger fan, if it's true that they were so stubborn about trading him to another Eastern Conference team, sure, but yeah, the cap probably would not have worked. But you could pair Ryan Strome, right? If you, let's say they did throw in Ryan Strome in this deal, in my opinion, he's equal, if not better, than Alex Tuch has been. I'd say probably better. I mean, in the 56-game season, 49 points, 59. Sure, you could argue that he's a product of Artemi Panarin, but to me personally, I don't see how you could really say that, considering that Strome had 9 points in 9 games without Panarin when he was out of the lineup last year because of the situation off the ice. And Panarin also, when Strome missed some games this season, Panarin looked a bit lost and looked like he was struggling without Strome. And then even when Strome came over here, smaller sample size, and obviously not a lot of points, but 33 points in 63 games before Panarin got here. It's not something that's to take lightly. If you decide instead of Strome, all right, Philip Hedl, he has some higher upside. In my opinion, he's got a little bit more higher upside than Peyton Krebs does. We'll see if he proves me wrong on that. But Lafreniere and Kakko were easily not going to be moved in this deal. With the way Keandre Miller has played, I don't know if it's changed anything, but that's a defenseman they could have got with some upside. If the Rangers were willing to part ways with Niels Lundqvist, which I don't think they were, in my opinion, they should have been willing to part ways with Niels Lundqvist. I love Niels. I think he has a great future here in the NHL. But to get Jack Eichel, I mean, I'd trade Niels Lundqvist easily. But with other guys, Kravtsov, before he was dealing with all this stuff, I mean, that probably lowered his trade value a bit, but I still think that he has some sort of value, and he would have been a good piece in the deal. Palmer Reunion's kind of a sleeper prospect. I don't think he's going to be that big of a prospect. Zach Jones is easily someone, his college coach compared him to, called him Adam Fox light. So Zach Jones easily could have been thrown into a deal. Again, this is more something where it would have been higher upside guys versus proven NHL talent, which it seems like Buffalo was more looking for NHL proven talent. But let's say they did decide to go. Let's say they decide to package together Ryan Strome and Philip Hedl. Yeah, it's a little bit of a hit on your center core to give up 2 of those centers in one deal. But to me personally, man, if the Rangers could have done something where they threw Hedel, Strome, and then even thrown in a prospect or even Georgiev, because Buffalo could. I mean, right now it doesn't look like they need goaltending, but if you decide to do that, throw in a prospect like Tarmo Reunanen and Morgan Barron, and then throw in a first and a second like Vegas did. I think personally that tops Vegas's offer. Maybe my Ranger bias, but again, it seems like they did not want to trade him to the Eastern Conference. Other teams that were in it, the Minnesota Wild also, right? Minnesota probably could have made a better deal also. I'm just so shocked that the offer and the final trade ended up being what it could have been, or ended up being what it was. Boston is another team that was in the mix. I mean, DeBrusk is someone that probably would have been in the deal. He could have been a pretty good piece in a deal. I don't know. I mean, Boston probably could have threw something together that was good. It's just really shocking to me. Anaheim, for them, it would have been a little bit more tough to throw a package together of NHRA guys. I mean, if, as I like to call him, Rickard Rackle, if Raquel, though, was, if he's not coming back to Anaheim after this season, maybe throwing him in a deal and then you throw in like a Peyton Krebs player where it's a guy that has some upside but not really a ton. Although, I mean, it's early to say with Krebs that, but there's probably a prospect that Anaheim could have threw in, right? I mean, there's got to be somebody that I'm just not thinking of off the top of my head, but you get the idea that Anaheim easily could have got something done, especially if they threw in Raquel. I think they could have got something done there. I can't really think of other teams. I mean, the Avalanche were in the mix for a bit for whatever reason. The Avalanche, if they decided to part ways with, again, it would have been similar to the Rangers, where it would have been, lower end guys that aren't proven NHL guys with higher ceilings. So like an Alex Newhook, that could have been a comparison to Krebs. I say Newhook as of right now is better. And then in terms of an NHL player, I don't know if they were willing to give up a guy like Nazem Kadri, who only has 1 year left on his deal, but that could have been a possibility. Colorado probably could have got something done too. How about Detroit? Detroit could have been a sleeper team also to get in the mix here. I feel like Detroit would have been could have been woulda, coulda, shoulda, would have. I keep saying would have when I mean to say could have been a team that to get this done. They honestly could throw a package together. In my opinion, if they were willing to part ways with a guy like Zadina. But again, they didn't want. Although an in-division trade probably would have been more unlikely. I guess with them in Boston, it's hard to say. All these deals are. Yeah, they could have happened, but yeah, it's a little more difficult to say that with in-division trades. But in terms of another out-of-division team, Nashville has their two centers. Like, I'm just trying to get examples. Nashville was never really in the mix, at least to my knowledge, they weren't. But I feel like they could have, if they really wanted to, got something done. Team like New Jersey, if they were willing to move one of Heischer or as I like to call him, his chair, if they're willing to move Heischer or Hughes to the wing, one of the two, it would probably end up being Nico Heischer. They probably could have easily got something done to get Jack Eichel, which as a Ranger fan, I would have been absolutely livid, but it's something that could have happened. No question about it. Other teams, even Seattle probably could have been a team to get this done if they were willing to part ways with a guy like maybe McCann or Eberle, and then you give up a prospect, which is hard to say because they only had 1 year of draft picks. They probably could have got something together though in Seattle. St. Louis, if if Tarasenko still wants out, that could have been something, but would have. I guess it would have made sense because you free up space for Buchnevich to move to the top 6, which, as a Ranger fan, it absolutely devastates me to see him playing bottom 6 minutes. But that's just how loaded St. Louis is on the wing. St. Louis could have been a team. They easily could have got something together if they wanted to. Tampa Bay, that's another team that was in the mix because why not go? They went 18 million over the cap. Why not go 19 plus this year? Because Kucherov's on LTIR, and then Eichel would have been in both. Probably would have came back for the playoffs. But for a package for them, if they were willing to part with Anthony Cirelli, that probably would have been their best version of Alex Tuch, if you will. Although he has a lot more upside because he's still 24. How old is Alex Tuch though? I don't think Alex Tuch. I think he's in his. He's only 25. I mean, I guess he still could break to 70 points, but Cirelli has that same potential, personally, in my opinion. And then you give up some of these lower-end guys. I mean, if you're willing to part ways with a guy like Cal Foote, and it's Tampa Bay, I'm sure they have other guys in the system right now. Toronto, for shits and giggles, if you want to throw them in, it would have probably ended up with the cap to make it work. They probably would have had to throw Nylander or Muzzin in, but you don't want to, with Muzzin, you don't want to do that to take a hit on your blue line. Winnipeg, if they weren't in the mix, but I mean, they're a team that maybe could have been under the radar if they wanted to give up on Pierre-Luc Dubois already. He could have been a main piece. I don't know. I just feel like it's early to say, like I mentioned before, to declare a winner and everything, so I'm not going to do that. But on the day itself, when you look at the trade, and assuming all goes right with Jack Eichel's surgery, it is definitely not going to be easy to say, looking back on the trade, if Eichel, when he's healthy, performs like he has in the past, it's not going to be easy to say that Buffalo won this trade at all, unless Alex Tuch becomes a completely different beast in Buffalo, and that Peyton Krebs breaks out to what we thought he would be on draft night. It's really hard to say that Buffalo is going to win this deal. It's really going to be difficult. But, you know, we've seen trades before in the past where it's like, oh, this looks like an absolute steal, and then it ends up not being a steal. This could end up being another scenario just because of Eichel's health concerns. That's really the only question going into it, which is why I mentioned numerous times and why I tried to tell Buffalo fans that they were not getting these top prospects that they thought they were getting, or these top end guys that they thought they were getting. They were not getting Byfield. They weren't getting Zegras, weren't getting Lafreniere, weren't getting Kakko. They weren't getting any of these guys that they thought they were getting. I tried to make that clear, but it never went through anyone's head, or at least most people's head. But I mean, I feel like most teams could have got this done, and they would have threw an offer similar if they knew that this was going to end up being the final offer. Because Jack Eichel, without a doubt, he's easily the best player on Vegas now. Buffalo, for them, I mean, if Tuch does end up working out for them, I mean, I really see his highest ceiling being a 70-point guy. 25, he still could be a 70 point per game player at highest with him. Krebs, it's way too early to project anything with him. He still has a lot of potential, but I mean, no points as of right now. At least last I checked, he didn't have any points. I just don't see how anyone could say that Buffalo won this deal off the rip, at least, because like I mentioned, Eichel's health concerns, it's really going to play a factor. It's really going to play a factor on who wins this trade. But I'm happy for Jack Eichel personally as a Ranger fan. You know, I'm happy that this is done because I don't want to hear Jack Eichel to, you know, this team, that team. I don't want to hear the trade rumors anymore. I'm just glad it's done so everything can be put to bed. And, you know, there's nothing now surrounding the NHL in terms of trades as of right now until the deadline that it's like, you know, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? We waited months, and you could even argue years, because there was a rumor that before the 2020 or 2020-21 season, if you want to call it that, because there was only in hockey in 2021, technically, even before that season, that offseason, the Rangers were rumored to make a trade for Jack Eichel, and that's really when the trade rumors started. So this has been dating back to 2019 even, or not 19, 2020, I should say, 2020 even, early 2020, but or not early 2020, but like mid 2020. This has been dating back to then, and it's kind of underwhelming, you know, looking on paper at the trade as of right now to see this was the offer. I hope that when we look back, it's something more crazy, but everyone's just going to remember that on the day. I mean, it was just an underwhelming trade for what we were waiting for. But yeah, I mean, that's all I got to say. I've been rambling for 22 minutes now. I'm going to go ahead and end the video here. So if you did enjoy, leave a like, subscribe if you guys are new. And other than that, it's been Python. I'm out. Peace.